The best thing a fading NFL player can do is know when it's time to walk away while they're ahead.
Will Aaron retire? I think it's gonna be a forced retirement. I don't think there is going to be a team that wants him as the week 1 starter.
Given their ages and declining production, these 10 former NFL superstars have to accept that their careers are all but over after the 2024 season. Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers has 2 choices amid a comical but also very sad season in New York. Does he follow the footsteps of his successor Brett Favre by not knowing when it's time to retire and damage your legacy a bit by playing way longer than you should? Or does he gracefully see the writing on the wall and walk away from the game while he's ahead or behind? Look, words cannot fully describe just how pathetic the Jets have been this year. It is unbelievable that with Rodgers and Devontae Adams that they've somehow gotten worse than the teams that Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson led. Rodgers was the unofficial GM of the Jets this year. They fired their head coach and GM and tried to please their QB by making an ill-timed trade for Adams. Now you're hearing reports that owner Woody Johnson doesn't want Rodgers back next year, so, make of that as you will. Rodgers might attract some interest if he hits free agency, but come on, for his sake, we'd like to see him just retire and do his weird little content on all those podcasts. It's better than watching him tank part of his legacy by overstaying his welcome in the pros. Ezekiel Elliott. Jerry Jones' master plan of going all in this offseason was really just a case of making zero impact moves to bolster their team's chances of going on a deep postseason run. But hey, at least he brought back 2-time rushing champion Ezekiel Elliott in free agency after a 1-year stint with the New England Patriots. Elliott has been past his all-pro form since 2019. So, of course, Jerry could only be away from Zeke for 1 season before deciding to bring him back. Because who needs a 1,000-yard rusher in his prime like Tony Pollard, right? So anyway, Elliott is on his way to posting career lows amid a disastrous season for the Dallas Cowboys. The fact that he couldn't even command many reps on the league's worst running back room kinda says it all. Some guys like Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore defied Father Time and played at a high level well into their early 30s. But Elliott has just been slowing down for 5 years now, and it is really hard to envision the idea of an NFL team signing him to be a 3rd-string RB. It's unfortunate that Zeke couldn't defy his age like Derrick Henry, but 90-something% of running backs these days aren't built to play well into their 30s. So unless Elliott is just okay with a practice squad roster spot, his career is entirely done for. Michael Thomas. Following his release from the New Orleans Saints, can't guard Mike went unsigned throughout the 2024 season. If that's not a clear indicator that Michael Thomas's time is up in 2024, then come on, what is? Truth be told, it was kind of shocking that the Saints didn't release Thomas earlier. The 2019 Offensive Player of the Year missed the entire 2021 season and played just 10 total games over the 2020, 2022, and 2023 seasons. Thomas was on a Hall of Fame trajectory with Drew Brees as his quarterback from 2016 to 2020. It's truly unfortunate that injuries destroyed the second half of Thomas's career, derailing his chances of becoming one of the true all-time great wide receivers. 31 other NFL teams didn't sign Thomas because they know he's banged up and doesn't have anything to offer at this phase of his career. Thomas didn't even get signed to opposing team practice squads, even if injuries mounted at the wide receiver position. Thomas's NFL career is over. Tre'Davious White. Awfully similar to Michael Thomas, White was in the conversation for the best player at his position in the early stages of his career. Unfortunately, a string of injuries limited White to 21 total games over the final 3 seasons of his tenure with the Buffalo Bills. The 2-time Pro Bowler and 2019 first-team All-Pro was cut in a cap-saving move after the 2023 season. The cornerback-needy Los Angeles Rams ended up taking a chance on White, giving him a 1-year deal in free agency. White, however, was a giant liability on the Rams' defense. Per Pro Football Reference, he allowed a 66.7 completion percentage and a 138.4 passer rating when targeted in 4 games. That is just well beyond atrocious. The Rams managed to find a taker for White, who was sent to the Baltimore Ravens ahead of the trade deadline. But White's age, injury history, and alarmingly declining production means that his once promising NFL career is winding down. Kinda hard not to feel bad for the longtime Bills fan favorite. If his body didn't break down so quickly, White would have made a compelling Hall of Fame case. But nobody should be surprised if this is the final season of his career. Allen Robinson. Remember when Allen Robinson signed a 3-year deal worth $46.5 million with the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams? Remember when he was supposed to form a super duo with Cooper Kupp? Ah, those were the days. Robinson had an awfully disappointing 1-year stint with the Rams, tallying 33 receptions for 339 yards and 3 touchdowns. He was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the ensuing offseason, catching 34 passes for 280 yards and no TDs. A-Rob then landed with the Detroit Lions in 2024, but he's hardly found any reps in a very limited role on Dan Campbell's star-studded offense. Robinson's career has been a bit of an enigma. A monster 2015 season on a terrible Jacksonville Jaguars team, but didn't have another 1,000-yard season until 2018. He hit the 1K mark again in 2019, and then that was it for prime Allen Robinson. With 3 straight unproductive seasons under his belt, it's safe to say that Robinson's career is essentially over at this point. We'd be stunned if he was even on a practice squad roster by the time the 2025 season rolls around. Brandon Graham. It was rather surprising that the Philadelphia Eagles brought back Graham for 1 more year despite a down 2023 season. The career Eagle and longtime pass rush stalwart had just 3 sacks and no forced fumbles, a clear-cut indicator that he was past his best before date. The Super Bowl 52 hero played a career-low 34% of the Eagles' defensive snaps last season, with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith, and Bryce Huff headlining a star-studded front 7. It just felt like the right time for the two sides to part ways. Or, I don't know, for Graham just to retire. But no, the Eagles stayed loyal to Graham and brought him back for a 15th season. But come on, surely this has to be it, right? We know the Eagles like to take care of their own, but come on, there's no reason to keep Graham beyond this season. Plus, he would be doing the right thing by retiring while he's ahead. You know, as opposed to dragging out a career in which he has nothing else to prove. Tyrant Smith. Hindsight is 2020, but oh boy, I bet Smith and the Dallas Cowboys regret splitting up in the first place. Smith was still a stud offensive tackle in his final season with the Cowboys, but his career went down the drain once he joined Aaron Rodgers' New York Jets. Smith's departure left a giant void on the Cowboys' offensive line too, leading to equally disastrous seasons for the Jets and Big D. At the time, Smith felt like the perfect ad for a Jets team in win-now mode, but the rebuilt O-line that also landed Morgan Moses and John Simpson has done next to nothing, with Smith especially struggling at the bookend. The 8-time Pro Bowler and 2010's All-Decade team member had an 83.8 grade at Pro Football Focus a year ago and allowed just 1 sack in 847 snaps. Through his first 10 games as a Jet, Smith allowed 5 sacks on just 592 snaps and committed 6 penalties per PFF. Hey, I mean, I guess Rogers isn't the only future Hall of Famer on the Jets who lost the fountain of youth. Jamal Adams. Life comes at you quickly in the NFL. 1 year, you're an all-pro safety on a Hall of Fame trajectory before your 25th birthday. The next? Well, you have one of the worst contracts in the league. Yeah, after that one, no NFL team really wants you anymore. The former Jet and Seattle Seahawk was a superstar over his first 4 NFL seasons, earning 3 Pro Bowl nods, 1 first-team All-Pro, and 2 second-team All-Pro selections. In 2020, Adams set the single-season record for sacks by a defensive back with 9.5. By the time his age 26 2021 season rolled around, the inexplicable and rapid decline began. Adams was limited to 22 total games over the next 3 seasons because of injury. He didn't have a single sack during that period either, and the Hawks cut ties with Adams in the 2024 offseason. Adams got the chance to revive his career with the Tennessee Titans, but he was let go after appearing in just 3 games. Nobody bothered to roll the dice on Adams after that. Joe Flacco. The Super Bowl 47 champion and MVP had a short and sweet career renaissance with the Cleveland Browns last year, leading them to the postseason following a season-ending injury to Deshaun Watson. Despite winning Comeback Player of the Year honors, Flacco was not retained by the Browns. Instead, he signed a 1-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts in free agency, agreeing to back up Anthony Richardson. Flacco wound up starting 4 games in place of Richardson during the first half of the season because of injuries and inconsistent play. But, well, it only took 2 awful outings from Flacco for head coach Shane Steichen to go back to Richardson, who honestly shouldn't have been benched for a 39-year-old journeyman in the first place. Don't get us wrong, Flacco still has a special legacy as a Super Bowl champion who revived the Baltimore Ravens franchise in the final years of the Ray Lewis Ed Reed era. But I think it's time to hang up the cleats and begin the next endeavor of his life, whatever that may be. Patrick Peterson. After a mini 2-year resurgence with the Minnesota Vikings, Peterson signed a 2-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023. Unfortunately, Father Time caught up to the 8-time Pro Bowler once he landed in Steel City. The longtime Arizona Cardinals star became the weak link in the Steelers' secondary. Per Pro Football Reference, Peterson allowed 4 touchdowns in coverage and yielded a 91.5 passer rating when targeted. Pro Football Focus also had him down for a lackluster grade of 60.5 on the year. The Steelers released Peterson in the final year of his contract, sending the future Hall of Famer to free agency. Like Michael Thomas, however, nobody dared to sign Peterson or even add him to their practice squad. Peterson's going to be 35 next season. Yeah, it's kind of hard to envision other NFL GMs having any interest in adding him to their defense, especially considering that he has had a full year away from the game now. But hey, which other careers of NFL superstars are now officially over? Is there anybody on this list that you disagree with? Is there anybody that we should have included instead? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, then clicking that like button helps out a ton, and you know, we really appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, then subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.